The first light of dawn spills across an untamed landscape. The air is sharp with cold, and every breath stings the lungs. A family stirs from sleep beneath animal hides, the faint glow of yesterday's fire fading to ash. Beyond their shelter, the earth groans with life growls in the distance, birds breaking the silence. The shuffle of unseen creatures in the brush. Hunger gnaws before the day even begins. There are no granaries, no markets, no certainty of a meal. Each sunrise carries the same question: will today bring food, or will it bring hunger? This is life in the Stone Age. Every sound could signal prey or danger. Every step outside the safety of camp is both hope and risk. The people rise into a world without guarantees, a world where survival depends not on comfort, but on constant vigilance and unshakable instinct. It is here, in this fragile balance between fear and determination, that the story of humanity begins. They move in small bands, never staying too long in one place. The land offers no certainty, only the promise that somewhere just beyond the next valley food and water might be found. Stone tools clutched in their hands and hides wrapped around their shoulders are the only barriers against a merciless world. Yet even these tools, sharp as they seem, can fail. A spear thrown off target, a storm that sweeps through the camp, or prey that escapes into the wilderness. Any of these can turn a day into a struggle for life itself. There are no stores of grain, no granaries, no backup plan. Every hunt, every gathering of roots and berries must succeed in a moment, or hunger waits at nightfall. It is a world balanced between despair and determination. And within this tension, humanity's greatest strength begins to emerge. The ability to endure, to adapt, and to turn fragile existence into the first steps of survival mastery. Yet even in a world ruled by hunger and fear, humans refused to remain helpless. With bare hands and sharp minds, they learned to bend nature to their will. The first sparks of fire, struck from stone, lit more than just flames. They lit the path forward. Fire-warmed frozen nights kept predators at bay and transformed raw meat into nourishing meals. Around its glow, danger retreated and hope flickered alive. Stone tools, once rough and crude, became sharper, stronger, more precise. Spears flew straighter, hides were cut cleaner, and the hunt grew less uncertain. And with each improvement came a victory a mammoth brought down through teamwork. A family surviving a storm because the fire held strong. These were not just tools of survival, but milestones of ingenuity. For the first time, humanity was not only enduring the wild, they were shaping it. When the hunt is over and the dangers of the day fade into the night, people gather around the fire. Its glow pushes back the darkness, offering more than warmth. It offers belonging. Here, the taste of cooked meat is shared not just for survival, but as a moment of connection. Voices rise in laughter, in chants, in the first echoes of song. Stories take shape in the flicker of flame, tales of hunts, of spirits in the sky, of lessons meant to guide the young. What began as a struggle against cold and hunger now becomes something greater. These nights spark culture, weaving memory into myth and survival into meaning. This is where humanity begins not just living, but becoming something more. The first light of morning spills across the plains, but for StoneAge people, dawn is not a gentle beginning, it is a call to action. Hunger presses against empty stomachs, and the cold reminder of the night lingers in their bones. Men tighten their grips on spears, their tips chipped from stone and hardened by fire, each one crafted with care because failure could mean starvation. While the hunters slip away into the tall grass, eyes fixed on the faint tracks of mammoths or the shadow of a deer. The women and children bend low to the ground. They gather berries, roots, and nuts, their senses sharp to every rustle in the bushes, every cry in the distance. The sun climbs higher, indifferent to their struggle. Its light only reminds them that the hunt is never a choice, it is survival itself. The hunt is never a promise, it is a gamble played against the strength of nature itself. Spears, though sharpened with skill, are no match for the speed of a deer or the fury of a mammoth. A single misstep can mean disaster, a spear that misses its mark, a herd that suddenly stampedes, or a storm that blinds the hunters with wind and rain. Every chase carries the weight of life and death, not just for the hunter, but for the entire tribe waiting behind. Yet the dangers do not belong to hunters alone. Those who gather face their own trials. A bitter root mistaken for food can bring sickness. A berry that looks safe may be poison. Even thorny bushes tear skin and slow the search. While rival animals prowl the same paths, drawn by hunger. In this relentless struggle, survival becomes a test not of strength alone, but of unity, teamwork, patience, and timing turn fragile humans into something more, creatures capable of enduring together. Even when the odds seem impossible, for countless generations, humans lived at the mercy of the cold, the dark, and the beasts that prowled unseen. Then came fire, a gift wrestled from nature itself. With a spark, the night changed forever. What had once been eaten raw was now roasted, the flames turning tough flesh into nourishment, bitter roots into meals that filled the belly without sickness. But fire was more than food. Its warmth shielded fragile bodies from freezing winds. Its smoke curled into the air, warning predators that this space was no longer theirs. Hunters found new power, drying and preserving meat, storing strength for leaner days. Gatherers cracked open shells and unlocked foods once beyond reach. Around its glow, humans discovered something greater than survival. Fire was safety, memory, and hope. For the first time, they were no longer ruled by nature. They had begun to shape it. A mammoth falls, and the ground trembles beneath its weight. For a fleeting moment, the struggle of survival gives way to triumph. Hunters cry out in victory, their spears still dripping, while children run in circles, laughing at the promise of full bellies. The air is filled with the smell of roasting meat, and for once, the fire is not just warmth, it is celebration. Each family eats, each child is fed, and bonds of trust are sealed in the sharing of the kill. Yet these moments are rare. More often, the chase ends in empty hands. Food spoils before it can be eaten, or a rival band swoops in to claim the prize. Hunger gnaws relentlessly, leaving children frail and parents restless. Still, it is in these cruelest nights that determination hardens, scarcity becomes the teacher, and innovation the answer. Around the glow of the fire, food becomes more than nourishment, it becomes memory, lesson, and ritual. A piece of roasted meat is passed from hand to hand, and with it travels the story of the hunt. Hunters describe the chase, their voices rising with pride or trembling with exhaustion. Gatherers explain which berries are safe, which roots heal, and which plants carry danger. The youngest listen wide-eyed, learning survival not from a lecture, but from the rhythm of shared meals. These gatherings are not only about filling empty stomachs, they weave trust. To share food is to share life, ensuring no one is left behind. Over time, meals gain meaning beyond survival. They mark victories, mourn losses, and honor unseen spirits. In this simple act of eating together, humanity's first tradition is born. The communal meal, the seed of culture itself. A bitter wind screams across the empty plains, slicing through the hides wrapped around a huddled family. Snow swallows the land in silence, broken only by the groan of trees and the crackle of a dying fire. Each breath stings their lungs. Each night feels longer than the last. In the Stone Age, winter is not just a season, it is an enemy. The fire, once their shield, falters against the weight of the storm. Sparks fight the darkness but fade too quickly, leaving the tribe to wonder if warmth will last until morning. Predators circle beyond the shadows, drawn by weakness inside. Hunger gnaws just as fiercely as the cold. Survival demands more than bravery. It demands shelter walls against the storm, barriers against the beasts. The search for lasting protection begins here, in the cruel embrace of winter without mercy. Caves are the first havens, dark, damp, and filled with the echoes of dripping water. They are far from comfortable, yet within their stone walls, families find refuge from biting winds and the watchful eyes of predators. But caves are scarce, often already claimed by bears, lions, or wolves. For many, safety in stone cannot be relied upon. Necessity sparks adaptation. Early humans begin to craft shelters of their own. Branches are bent and tied with twisted plant fibers. Mammoth bones are set into the ground as frames, and animal hides are stretched tight to block out the cold, crude at first. But each creation is a bold step forward. No longer bound to the chance of finding a cave, they carry shelter with them, setting roots where none seemed possible. For the first time, humanity begins shaping the land into protection of its own design. A roof of hide and bone begins, as nothing more than a barrier against the storm. But with time, it becomes something greater. The walls of a hut do more than block the wine, they hold the voices of a family, the laughter of children, and the quiet murmurs of stories told by firelight. Shelter evolves into a stage where daily life unfolds as people remain in one place. Longer, bonds deepen. Families pitch their shelters close together, forming clusters that resemble the earliest neighborhoods. Paths form between hearths, footsteps etching connection into the soil. Here, food is shared, tools are crafted, and lessons are passed down from elders to the young. Within these spaces, Rituals take shape, songs echo, myths are born, and memory is carried forward. Shelter, once a fragile shield against the elements, transforms into the anchor of community, no longer just a refuge for bodies, but a home for the human spirit. The shelter may rise from wood, bone, and hide, but against the rage of nature, even the strongest walls tremble. Rains swell into floods, sweeping away entire camps in a single night. Winds tear through tents, scattering possessions across the plains. Freezing storms weigh heavy on roofs, crushing them under blankets of ice. Survival is never guaranteed, even within these fragile havens. Yet destruction does not end the story, it begins a new chapter. Each disaster forces humans to build again, this time with greater care. Poles are driven deeper into the ground, hides are layered for warmth, and fire pits are carved safely within to keep flames alive against the cold. With every failure comes invention, and with every storm comes wisdom. The hut, once only a shield, becomes a symbol of endurance. In its walls lies more than protection. It is the earliest expression of the human will. To call a place home, a child leans forward, eyes wide, as the stones strike. At first, there is nothing, only the dull clack of rock against rock. Then, in an instant, a spark leaps out, landing on a nest of dry grass. Smoke curls upward, fragile and uncertain, until a tiny flame flickers to life. Gasps fill the air. What once seemed like chance, a gift from storms or fire spilling from mountains, now rests in human hands. That single flame is more than light. It drives away the terrors of the night, turning darkness into a space of safety. The air shifts. With warmth, shadows retreat, and the camp feels protected for the first time. In that glow, something awakens within the human spirit. No longer just survivors of nature's fury, they are now its masters in small but powerful ways. The fire is not just fuel, it is the first tool of imagination, the spark of innovation. A rough stone rests in the palm of an early human. With a sharp strike, it becomes something more, a hand axe, heavy yet purposeful. In that moment, the human hand gains an extension of its strength. Wood can be split, animal hides cut, and carcasses opened with a precision the body alone could never achieve. Survival, once dictated by claw and tooth, now bends to a new invention born of thought. Over generations, these tools refine. Stones are chipped into razor edges, spears are balanced for reach and power. Bone needles stitch hides into clothing against the cold. Each creation is more than an object, it is an idea made real. A vision of what could be rather than what. Simply is. In tools lies a quiet revolution. They reveal not just the will to endure, but the power to plan, to shape, and to transform survival into possibility. At the fall of night, when shadows stretch long and the wilderness whispers with unseen dangers, people gather round the fire. Its warmth shields them from the biting cold. Its light pushes back the darkness where predators prowl. Yet the true strength of fire is not in its heat or its glow, it is in the way it draws humans closer, binding them in a circle of safety and connection. Here, meals are no longer hurried acts of survival. Meat sizzles, roots soften, and flavors bloom, creating food that is easier to share, easier to enjoy together. But as the flames dance, another hunger is fed, one of the mind and spirit. Elders lean forward, their voices rising and falling, with the crackle of the fire, weaving lessons of the hunt into chants and gestures. Children sit wide-eyed, absorbing not just the words, but the rhythm of belonging. Myths take shape, ancestors gain voices, animals become symbols. In the fire's glow, the first sparks of culture flicker to life. Beneath the flicker of firelight, deep within the stone chambers of caves, a new chapter of humanity unfolds. Here, on walls that echo with dripping water and the silence of ages, early humans leave behind more than footprints. They leave their voices in color and form. Figures of bison charge across the stone. Herds of horses run side by side, and hunters raise their spears in frozen pursuit. These are not mere decorations. They are records of existence, guides for those who come after, memories carved and painted into permanence. A single hand pressed against rock, outlined in pigment, whispers across time. We lived, we struggled, we dreamed. In these creations lies a transformation. Survival is no longer just about the hunt or the shelter. It is about story, meaning, and memory. With each stroke of paint, humans step beyond instinct and claim something greater: imagination, identity, and the first breath of culture itself. Beneath the weight of time, under soil and stone, lie stories older than memory itself. When archaeologists uncover ancient graves, they reveal more than bones. They uncover the quiet beginnings of belief. A chipped tool rests beside a body. Beads lie scattered near a skull, and animal bones are carefully placed as if meant to serve in another world. These were not accidents of burial. They were deliberate choices, signs that early humans saw death not as an end, but as a passage. To place offerings with the departed is to imagine a journey beyond the grave, to whisper hope into the silence of loss. In this act, humanity begins to separate itself from every other creature on Earth. The grave is no longer only a resting place. It becomes a statement. Life has meaning. Bonds stretch beyond breath, and for the first time, people dare to wonder what lies after the final shadow falls. In the heart of the night, flames leap and shadows dance across stone walls. A circle forms around the fire feet, stamping against the earth, hands clapping in rhythm, voices rising in chants that echo into the darkness. What begins as movement to keep warm or drive away fear becomes something greater. These dances, born of survival, transform into rituals, calls to unseen powers for strength in the hunt, for safety through storms, for life itself. On cave walls, the echoes of these nights endure. Painted figures stretch their limbs in motion, surrounded by animals, spirals, and signs that hint at worlds beyond the visible. The dance is not performance, it is prayer, a language of the body that binds the living together. In repetition, the fear of the unknown softens into unity. The beat of feet, the rise of song, the glow of fire, together they weave the first threads of belief, carried forward through generations. As fire warms the body and tools carve a safer path through the world, another force begins to take root. One that cannot be held in the hand, but binds people just as strongly. Belief. In a life shadowed by drought, hunger, or illness, explanations are scarce. Yet the unknown cannot remain silent. Around the flames, stories grow tales of spirits in the hunt, of ancestors watching from beyond, of forces unseen guiding fate. These are not idle entertainments. They are maps of meaning, lessons disguised as myth, teaching courage, caution, and care for one another. Belief becomes a bond, weaving individuals into a tribe that moves with shared purpose. It offers comfort where reason falters, resilience where fear threatens to break them, just as food and shelter sustain the body. Faith nourishes the spirit. In this union of survival and meaning, humanity takes its first step toward becoming more than mere survivors, toward becoming a people. The flames crackle, shadows dance across stone walls, and the night itself seems to lean in closer around. The fire, voices rise not in shouts of fear or calls of the hunt, but in stories. Elders speak with rhythm and weight, recounting battles against predators, triumphant hunts, and strange encounters with forces no eye could see. Children sit spellbound, their faces glowing in the firelight, as each tale passes both knowledge and wonder into young minds. These myths are more than entertainment. They are memory wrapped in imagination, warnings against danger, lessons for survival, and glimpses of worlds beyond reach. In the weaving of story, humanity creates its first form of literature, where fact and faith merge into something lasting. Each telling links generations, turning wisdom into tradition. And in those flames, creativity takes root, shaping not just survival, but the soul of culture itself. In the struggle for survival, something remarkable begins to take shape. Burials carved into the earth, dances echoing beneath the stars, chants rising with the flames, and myths whispered through generations. These are more than scattered acts. Together, they weave people into something larger than themselves. The tribe ceases to be only a gathering of hunters and gatherers. It becomes a community, bound by meaning, by stories, by faith. In that bond lies the first spark of identity, the powerful idea of us standing against storms, beasts, and the endless uncertainties of nature. Here, at this crossroads, the birth of culture emerges. Rituals remind the living they are not alone. Beliefs tether them to the dead. Practices tie children to ancestors they will never meet. Out of hardship and imagination rises a truth that will shape history. Survival with culture is not only stronger, it is enduring. Stone Age life was raw, immediate, and unforgiving. Yet within its harshness lay the seeds of humanity. Each dawn brought not only the struggle for food and warmth, but also lessons in resilience, curiosity, and connection. A mother teaching her child to identify edible roots was doing more than providing sustenance. She was passing knowledge, caution, and care, shaping the next generation. A hunter confronting a massive mammoth risked life and limb. Yet each calculated move reflected courage, strategy, and instinct honed over millennia. Daily life demanded cooperation, empathy, and foresight, as no individual could thrive alone. Through shared hardship, humans learned to support one another, to innovate, and to find joy and meaning in small victories. These ordinary lives, woven together, laid the foundation for culture, society, and the civilization that would one day rise from the trials of the Stone Age. Daily life in the Stone Age teetered between fear and delight. Hunger pressed on every belly, winter winds cut through thin hides, and predators prowled without mercy, yet humans learned to endure. Courage emerged in the hunt, as hunters tracked swift deer and massive mammoths with patience and precision. Resourcefulness guided gatherers to hidden roots, nuts, and berries, turning the landscape's dangers into sustenance. Strength was forged in unity, as families huddled for warmth, shared tools, and protected one another from unseen threats. But survival was not defined solely by struggle. Around flickering fires, laughter and music echoed through caves. Children played with carved bones, and stories carried both lessons and delight. In these fleeting moments of joy, the human spirit thrived. It was this blend of endurance and celebration that shaped resilience. The same resilience that continues to pulse through humanity today. As generations passed, the daily struggle for survival began to spark ideas that would change the course of human history. The first seeds were sown, not just in the earth, but in the minds of those who realized that staying in one place could bring security and abundance. Hunting and gathering gradually gave way to farming, transforming nomadic life into something more permanent. Villages rose along rivers where water and fertile soil supported crops, and simple shelters evolved into structured homes. Cooperation extended beyond small bands, creating the first threads of larger communities. This was the turning point, the moment when humans shifted from merely reacting to nature to shaping it, laying the foundations for what would become civilization. The work of countless Stone Age generations, from fire to tools to shared knowledge, became the fertile ground on which the world's first cities and cultures would grow. The climax of the Stone Age story is not a triumph over beasts, nor the invention of fire or tools. It is the emergence of humanity itself. The nameless people who braved frozen plains, carved into stone, and gathered around flickering flames, did more than survive. They created the foundations of what it means to be human. Their lives, though unrecorded in writing, echo in every tool we wield, every hearth we light, every story we share. In burying their dead, painting walls, and telling myths, they passed down something far greater than mere survival: the capacity for imagination, compassion, and community. Forgotten as individuals, they live on in our shared identity, in the laughter, the songs, the cooperation that still binds us. The greatest gift of the Stone Age is this enduring humanity, the legacy that shapes every life today. The story of the Stone Age concludes not with an end, but with a connection that threads through every aspect of our modern lives. Every meal we savor is a whisper from the past, a reminder of the first humans who hunted, foraged, and shared food around flickering fires. Every home we inhabit carries echoes of shelters crafted from hides, bones, and stone, where survival demanded ingenuity and care. The songs we sing, the stories we tell, and the rituals we practice all trace back to the earliest attempts to find meaning and community. Their struggles, triumphs, and dreams ripple forward, shaping the world we know today. The Stone Age was never just hardship, it was the crucible of human spirit. Its legacy lives in our endurance, our creativity, and the enduring heartbeat of humanity in every home, every gathering, every shared meal.